Hello everyone and welcome back to Self-Serving Skillet, where this January I am making nothing but soup because soup is what January calls for. Today I'm making a French onion soup, and this soup could not be more easy. The longest thing is getting your onions to caramelize nice and low and slow to release all of those sugars. And the good news is that we can do everything else while the onions are cooking down. I want nice even slices. I want a little bit of thickness to these, but not much. So I'm not going to thinly slice them, but maybe about 1/4 inch. You want to stop before you get to this sort of tough part that's attached to the root. Rest of them. There we go. You want about 1 large onion per serving of soup. I have 4 onions here. I'm going to start off with about 2 tablespoons of butter. And just to heat this up, I turn it to about medium. I want like a medium low for these onions. And I do enjoy this a little bit better when it's made with butter. But you can feel free to use oil, lard, whatever you need. This looks like a lot of onions, but I'm going to be able to hold this amount of onions in my cupped hands when this is all over with. See there, my pan is a little bit too hot. You don't even really want these to sizzle yet. Toss them in the butter, and then we can work on the rest of our soup. This is the beef stock that we made last week. It's already nice and full flavored. It's going to make a really nice onion soup. Another thing I can do, these are the little breads that I've had cut up and stuck in my freezer since I made that cheese plate. This is what was left over. I'm going to make them into little toasties, little crostini. Little olive oil lightly on one side into a 350 degree oven for, I don't know, I'll check them after 5 minutes. And these have to be stirred a lot. Don't walk away when you're making caramelized onions. But I don't necessarily want to cut away in the video every time I have to do it, so just believe me when I tell you, you gotta sit there and stir them. This cheese is Gruyere. It is one of the cheeses that United Statesians typically call Swiss cheese. And the one with the holes in it, its name is actually Emmentaler, and that's really good too. That would also be really good in this dish. If you can't find a Gruyere, just use like a Swiss sandwich cheese. I think would work just fine, but I like whole grated cheese. Put that rind away for future stock. And there we are. Not Emmentaler, Gruyere. Nice and nutty and salty. It's going to be great on this. And I'm all out of stuff to prep. That's how great this is. We just want these onions to break down slowly. Alright, so that time lapse you just saw was half an hour, and then my camera turned off. I've been going for about 5 minutes after that, and I'm pretty much there. You see all this great onion fond on the bottom of my pan here? That's all the sugar breaking down in the onion, and that's how we know that they're going to be delicious. So we're going to deglaze that with a little bit of dry sherry, And by a little bit, I mean a lot. I'm going to use about a cup of sherry. And for this, I'm going to turn my pan up just a little bit, move my onions around until it comes up to temperature, because I really want to cook off that sherry. So all I'm left with is the flavor. So I said about 1 onion per serving, maybe a 1/4 cup of sherry per serving. Alright, that's probably it right there. And this smells great already. We're just gonna wait for a little bit of that alcohol to cook off. Let those onions infuse nicely in that sherry. When that cooks down to something that's a little syrupy like this, then we can add our beef stock in. That's nice. That's just what I want. Let's put a bunch of cheese and stuff on it. Alright, let's let that cool down a little bit. I've got my crostini, and I think I'm just going to go in half. The French onion soup needs sort of a straight-sided bowl. Sometimes you see them in crocks with a lip that kind of curls over, and that's on purpose. That's so when all of the cheese comes together at the top, it can adhere to the side. So I don't have that at home, so I'm actually going to use a coffee mug. Here's what I want. I want to layer the bottom of this coffee mug with bread. Only a couple. We don't need to go nuts. And then enough cheese in there so that I don't see the bread anymore. What's going to happen is that when I pour in the hot soup, it's going to melt the cheese and make the bread rise, and then I'm just going to top it with a little more cheese to make it look pretty. And another handful of cheese to top that off. And that is my French onion soup. Now, if you wanted to make this a baked French onion soup, you could throw this under the broiler. You could take a creme brulee torch and sort of torch the top. Personally, I'm eating up here for the camera with a handled mug, so I'm just gonna go for the regular French onion soup. That's so good. Sort of sweet and savory and salty and umami-y all at the same time. It's beautiful. The Gruyere is a little saltier than I thought it was going to be, which is fine because I didn't overly salt my soup. So just make sure you're tasting your ingredients. You don't want to ruin a good time with a unexpected salt bomb. Cheers. Almost forgot. I made a bunch of different portions because I want to take this as lunches a couple days. So here's how I would construct them. A couple of crostinis in the bottom and cover it with enough cheese, like I said, so you don't see them. You take 2 separate mason jars, dry ingredients and your wet ingredients. You heat your wet ingredients out and dump them over top your dry ingredients. You're not going to get the layer of cheese at the top, but everything's still going to be delicious and crispy and creamy and cheesy where it should be.